Hello world. It's been a while. Welcome back to Far Out State of the Game. The content has been stagnant for too long, so today I'm gonna show you what I've done, what I'm working on, and what I'm planning, as well as introduce some changes to how we'll go about content from now on. And in case you're new here, I'm a solo game developer working on Far Out, a sandbox game about inventing. You can learn more about the concept of the game in my introduction video linked down below. Let's do some catching up now. Alright, the so-called monthly plan has been a slight miscalculation. It uncovered a lot of glaring issues with my code, and most of the time was spent optimizing. And even then, I've only done half. And I'm a really stubborn dude, I really wanted the whole thing done before I make another video. Combine that with me juggling my academic and personal life, and we get delay after delay after delay, and eventually, well, this. More on that later though, let's look at biome generation. The idea here was to set specific rules where some biomes can and cannot generate, specifically rough biomes like canyons, mountains, and bodies of water. More specifically, I didn't want them to generate right next to each other, near the edges, or in the middle where the player would spawn. Seems easy enough, right? First thing I did is increase the world size. Obviously, doing that would slow down the game, so I made a chunk loading system. Now, it did help, but the game was still having some minor lag spikes, at seemingly random times. I thought maybe it's the chunk loader. Processing so many individual tiles at once must be the culprit. So I thought, why not use tile maps instead? A tile map is basically a uniform background object that is divided into tiles, and it's much lighter than thousands of individual tile objects. Problem is, because they are uniform objects, you cannot recolor individual tiles. Convinced that switching to tile maps would solve the problem, I spent like 3 weeks trying to come up with a solution, and I did. One small issue: the lag spikes are still there. Yup. So I started debugging, and I found the actual culprit. The way I stored my world in the memory was so horrible that my game ate like a gigabyte of RAM just by existing. Now I'm gonna make you cry. For every individual tile in my world, I had 3 arrays. For now. If we crunch some numbers, that's almost 10 million individual arrays, all looking at my memory like that one Sonic GIF. Moral of the story, I'm a horrible programmer and you should boo me in the comments. And the funniest part, this isn't even the bottom of the rabbit hole, but I think we should move on from this. The biome rework is done, I cut the RAM usage by 10 times, save file size by 100 times, and the world generates and loads a bit faster now. Next up, we have the vegetation rework. Now, this was nice and easy. I just set some rules for how it generates, namely, I made it so vegetation doesn't generate too high up in the mountains or too deep in canyons. This can be tweaked later down the line. And not much else to say here. The scrollbar rework was a bit challenging, but nothing too crazy. I did some stress tests and it handles 100 plus save files pretty well. And even then, I plan to cap the max save amount to like 50 files. I've also optimized some other UI elements that weren't too well made. Like for example the color pickers, that were picking a color every frame and slowing down the game. Now, sloped collisions is a thing that for a while I didn't fully know how to approach. The simple solutions I've dabbled in just couldn't cut it for the type of game I'm making. So I decided to face my fears and make a trigonometry based movement system from scratch. It's still work in progress, but it's turning out amazing. It will allow me to have any movement speed, have moving ground, have ground that dynamically rotates under the player, and of course have smooth sloped collisions. And now let's talk about the new content model. Instead of pushing myself into a stressful plan to complete before the next video, let me introduce you to the first Far Out roadmap. This is going to be my long-term plan that will allow me to work at a more comfortable pace. It would also allow me to give you more consistent updates, maybe even with some short-form content in between. Our first milestone is gonna be a Steam page, and after this goal is done, we'll set a new one, and so on. That's all for today though, sorry for the long wait, and I'll see you soon. Hopefully.